Namaste Jai Prabha ji.
Namaste Chitra. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be interacting with your Rhythm Motion institution, and I've been watching your videos. Good job. Keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much. I'm very happy that you agreed to be part of the Movement Nuances series. We've been doing it for quite some time, but I'm always very curious to understand each artist's point of view regarding the same dance style. It could be, we have whatever classical dance styles we have in our country, but it's so interesting to hear every artist's unique perspective, and so that's what I'm hoping we will discuss in this session. Mohiniyattam, like just to watch it visually, it's very graceful, very grounded, and a very strong actually art form for me when I look at it. So for you, your training with your gurus, yes, it is always, we thank our gurus for all the knowledge that they have given us. So from your training to how you contributed from your experiences, from your learnings, from teaching and from practicing. So a few words about that would be very nice.
I should say initially, as you mentioned, training of the gurus. Yeah, we are very thankful to our gurus for giving us so much of knowledge and confidence to go about in our art form. So I first received my training in classical dance, I would say, at the age of 4 under Kalambalam Saraswati, where we were trained in Bharatanatyam, gradually in Mohiniyattam, and then Kuchipudi also. Then later, as I grew, I was performing all these 3 styles. And when later I was trained under Guru Bharati Shivaji in Mohiniyattam. So that from there is when I took Mohiniyattam seriously. Uske pehle, before that, it was Bharatanatyam was my favorite thing, because I love movements. I love to use my body. Also, I love Abhinaya also, but the using the body gives you a joy, an inner joy. So I used to love that, and I used to love the technique. Jadis were my favorite of Bharatanatyam. So likewise, when I was introduced to the Sopana Sangeetam style by Guru Bharati Shivaji, there I found a lot of nritta, which was not there initially in Mohiniyattam when I was learning. So that attracted me a lot, because any classical form you take, what differentiates one form from the other is the nritta. Abhinaya continues to be almost the same, sober and aggressive and vibrant and all that is there, but the basics of Abhinaya is almost the same. But nritta, from the Aramandi position, you have it different. Like in Bharatanatyam, Mohiniyattam, Odissi, Kathak, all the mandala stances are different. So where you hold the basic Natyaramba position, in Bharatanatyam you hold it like Mohiniyattam, you have it here. So that itself makes a difference. So nritta was very interesting for me, and I used to love it. So that is when I started concentrating more on Mohiniyattam. And later on, they started my professional training in Mohiniyattam, I should say. And so what Guru Bharati Shivaji has introduced a lot of lasya into Mohiniyattam. Now, when you define lasya, what is lasya? Lasya is something gentle and graceful. Okay. But in Mohiniyattam, what is lasya? In Mohiniyattam, lasya is the circular movement of the body, the Antolika movement of the body, and the Adibanga movement of the body. So what does these mean? The circular movement of the body, the Churipu is the circular movement of the body. And Antolika is the wave-like movement where you have the ups and downs and you move like the wave-like movement. And Adibanga is the one flexion of the body, single flexion, which you sway. So these are the 3 characteristic movements of Mohiniyattam, which you can define as lasya: graceful, gentle, feminine, etc. So these aspects has been introduced and used in such a meaningful and beautiful way to enhance the art form. So this was adapted into the technique. The nritta was enhanced thus. And for the movements, we used Vaitaris. In Sopana Sangeetam, like the Jatis in Bharatanatyam, we have the Vaitari in Mohiniyattam, which are again mnemonics of the instruments, especially the Kshetra Vadyangal, temple instruments of Kerala, like the Edekya, Madalam, Chenda, Timira, etc. So these Vaitaris were used, and the movements were choreographed to these Vaitaris in indigenous talas of Kerala, because again the tala systems in Kerala, the percussion instruments, the tala patterns are different from the others. So this is how the Sopana Sangeetam style was developed, and which I learned from Guru Bharati Shivaji. Now from there on, I took it forward. How I took it forward is, I again went and met Kavalam Narayana Pankya sir, Kavalam sir, and under his guidance, he's my mentor, and under his guidance, I took it forward and worked on these lines only, but further developed it, enhancing, enriching the art forms. Enriching the Mohiniyattam repertoire.
When you mentioned about the different ways the torso moves, and also you have that white stance where you sit.
Correct.
How do you say where the center is, and how do you move to extend the movement to make it stronger and more graceful at the same time? Because that's what I am very fascinated about, because it's graceful and strong at the same time, like I said right at the beginning. So what happens is that, first of all, that position is not an easy position. You have to go through a lot of training to get into that position. So that it would be interesting to know how a dancer gets herself to become strong like that. Of course, practice makes you strong, but there must be something that helps you get into that position, which is not easy. And at the same time, have that beauty of the grace without making it look like you're struggling to be in that position.
See, the technique is to, first, the technique is to enjoy the movement. Okay? To feel the movement inside. Because when you do a churipa, a circular movement, although you do it in a circular way, you see a circular pattern, but the more movement is internalized. You hold on to your core there and then move. Okay? And with the movement, only your head to your waist moves, and the waist below portion remains static. You don't move your sides, of course, torso you move, but not the kadi. The hip doesn't move. You sit, and it is the torso which moves and creates a circle. But as you move, when you take the torso in, first the prasarita movement, and then you come down. Now see, when you come down, you put your head, eyes, everything, and just let the head roll with the body. So here, what is to be understood and noticed is that you have to be in total concentration with what you do. Because when you are disturbed or distracted, your pattern breaks, your eyes will also wander, the whole pattern breaks, and that last year is also lost. So hence this is very although Mohiniyattam will look like a very simple, easy form, very deceptive it is very demanding. It is not easy to hold on to your core and do all the lasya movement. Even when you do the Antolika movement also, it is not easy to hold on to this ups and downs, the curvaceous movement. The curvature of the movement is the beauty of Mohiniyattam. There are no sharp edges. And as you do this Andolika movement, you again go on to the Adipanka and the Churipa without breaking or without a sharp edge. You just flow into the other movement. So that is again the proficiency of an art form or an artist, which shows how much she has worked on it, how much dedication has come, how much input has gone into that particular work. So which is very important. So that is how this movement has been develop, and it is very demand. And to make it stronger, like, you need to have the basic warm-up exercises we do it. But again, it's important to do the churippu, upper churippu and the lower churippu, both upward torso movement and the downward torso movement. So these two churippu, and when you do also, you have these all circular movement, like this vertical circular movement also when you do with the, so but the vertical circular movement is not seen when you do. So for that, you have to enhance it with your hasta. When you do it like this, then that movement is seen. Otherwise, it's not very visible. So the hands are an extension of your body movement only. So we treat our hands as just an extension of a body movement. So when you do a movement like the Adibhanga, the swaying movement, so when the hasta also goes, when the arms also goes like this, then that pattern is very clearly seen. It's you can emphasize on that clear pattern. And when you do the Antolika movement, also when you do this is one churippu. And when you do this, again, the pattern is clear. When you do this also, the pattern is clear. So the hastas are used as an extension of body movement, and also to give clarity to the pattern, or the clarity to the pattern and the smoothness of the movement. So that is how you use that. So that is another thing, I think, which is very different from other art forms, where you use the hastas as an, unless and until you have a specific meaning to express through your mudra vocabulary, you have, when you do the nritta, it is the hastas are just an extension of your body movements to emphasize the movement clarity or the pattern clarity.
Te, te, ta, te, te, yum, te, te, yum, te, 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 ta, te, te, yum, te, te, yum, te, te. Next one, te, te, ta, te, te, yum, te, te, yum, te, 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 ta, te, te, yum, te, te, yum, te, te.
I mean, that's very interesting. When you said moving from one pattern to the other without breaking it, without having any jerky movements, but to make it smooth, that must be quite challenging.
That's very challenging. Yes.
Because it's not angular like Bharatanatyam.
That's the main difference now. We don't have angular movements. Even if you do a movement diagonally, it is a curve only. It is a curve only. It's all movements are curvature. The curvature is the Mohiniyattam, essence of Mohiniyattam movements.
To develop that strong curve movements, how do you instruct someone very young to make them understand that it's not one line here, one line there, and one line here, but you have to actually make a circle or a semicircle or like you showed the back, the movement. Yes. It does become difficult, I think. I'm not a teacher.
Yeah, because see, here what we do is we take a child into our class to start initiate in Mohiniyattam only after the age of 6 or 7. Only after 6, because in other styles it's easy when you say limb movements. Teyam tatta, teyam tatta. It's all linear, horizontal, vertical movements, which are very easy for them to understand, because they just have to move their limbs. They don't have to use their body. Correct. But in Mohiniyattam, body movement is very important. And another thing is that what part of your body moves. You cannot move your shoulder or your hip. It is the torso which has to be moved. And a girl or the child should know that which part of the body to move and how to move. So that is very important when you start with, because we start with the chulpa, the basic exercise, so the chulpa. So when you start with the chulpa, you tell the girl, the child, sit in the position, and then you have to feel that your lower part is static, you don't move, and your upper part has to move. So what I do with the very small children and all, I ask them to just bend, not just bend to both sides, so that they first have the feel of their torso. So they don't, this portion is what is moving. My hip is not moving. My shoulder, big upper part of the body moves. Then I say, now gradually bring it to a circular movement. So that then they know which part of your body, because when you say, they may not understand. They have to feel it themselves. You have to feel to know which part of the body to move. So when they do the sideways movement, so they understand how they feel that movement. So then I say that this portion is where you have to do the chulpa. And first time they will do the chulpa very exaggerated way. But later on they'll come and they'll know how to imbibe the movement and do the chulpa very gracefully. And here again, the challenge is, as you said, how to make them move in a very graceful way. So what the idea is that what you say is that, see, when you're doing a movement like this, so here again, see, you're holding it here. So this means you're holding your core here. And now from here, you're moving like this, and you're coming back. You're moving again from this, and you're coming back. And from this point, you move there, and come back, and here, and come back. But this comes in a little later stage. Okay? But still, they know to be in center, and then make a curvature movement, and they come back. And again, come back. And then from here, you come back. And here, you come back. So it's like this looks like a branch of a tree. Like, So again, when you see, you can see the hand, the body, and eyes together, and they come back together. So in Mohiniyattam only, I found that every footwork is enhanced with a body movement. We don't have just, even when you do te diti te, you do te diti te. Okay, we do te diti te, or you do te diti te. There is a body movement involved. Even when you do a movement like this, that theme, that is also enhanced with a body movement. So every footwork is enhanced with a body movement. I know that's only there in Mohiniyattam. That's the uniqueness of the art.
Yes, that was very interesting what you said, that each the movement of the torso, there is one correlating movement of the feet, or rather the way the adavus, is it right? Am I using the correct word?
Yeah, correct. See, when you do a simple movement like you do Teyyam Natadavu. When you do the Natadavu, for you stretch fully. We don't stretch fully. We have it bent. The Kunjita Padam Rekke or Anjitam Rekke. Anjitam or Kunjitam. Jo bhi rekhte. But you have the body movement to that. But as it is not just Natadavu, you nati vechite. You don't just stretch. We have that movement, curvature movement to reach that footwork. As you keep the feet, the movement is curvature there. So it is all about, adorning each movement or celebrating each movement. You're not just doing a movement, you're just celebrating every aspect of that movement, enjoying. So that itself, I feel that it is like I feel so feminine with all those movements. I feel so beautifully enhanced with all those movements, because it's like celebrating every moment. It's like celebrating yourself. So I like Mohiniyattam as a celebration of femininity. That's what I feel always.
Lovely. So I think now I understand why there is that speed is so important. Aspect of speed in Mohiniyattam. There is no that feeling of rush or anything. I mean, like in terms of execution, not the feeling of the rasa or the aesthetic experience of the spectator, but there nothing is rushed into. Everything is like, now I'm able to understand why everything is done in that speed. I always wondered why it was so slow. Not that everything is slow. I'm sure you have different speeds. Okay, correction.
Yeah, we are. That's what I'm coming to say.
Yes.
It's not necessary that it should be slow. It's not necessary. Though nobody says that Mohiniyattam has to be very slow. No. It is how that art form has been conceived, or how the art form has been executed. But we do have the layer built up, like in the you must have seen the percussion ensemble of Kerala, the Tayambaka, where you have the progression. So it's like a pyramid pattern. We do have that incorporated in our dance form also, in an item called Jiva. So that when you build up from the base and creates that pinnacle, slowly, gradually building up, okay, to reach that is the Jivatma attaining moksha, to the Paramatma. So that has been incorporated, adapted into Mohiniyattam, and we have an item called Jiva for that. So speed is there, but not necessarily everything should be in a Vilambita Kala or a Madhyalaya Kala. Okay. It can be, what I feel, my take on this is that it is up to each presentation. It is up to what you want to present and how you want to communicate or convey it. Maybe you may start with the Virittam and then go on. Maybe you may start with the Madhya Kala and beach mein cut karke you may come to a Virittam. There is something to a dramatic element is created thus. Again, that is also very much from the region, Kerala, because Kerala has lots of dramaticism. Kerala art forms are very dramatic. They have a lot of dramatized art forms. And this, of course, the Kudiyattam, the mother of all art form, all theatres, is from Kerala. So we do have all those elements in Mohiniyattam also. So I have worked on those lines. So my creations, my productions, my presentations are all on those lines. So I've adapted things like this into my creations, my choreographic things, so I bring in a lot of regional flavor, a lot of dramaticism, and a little different to communicate, effective communication.
Thank you for watching this video. Follow us on Instagram for more updates. Make sure you like, share and subscribe to our channel.